Sonic the Hedgehog music. I love it, you love it, who doesn't love it?
Well, actually, I think it's just alright.
For as long as the series has been around, the one consistently good thing about it has always been the music. Even in the worst games, and I mean in the really bad ones, the music has always been pretty dang enjoyable. So when it was announced the Sonic Symphony, a musical performance of all sorts of Sonic songs organized for the series' 30th anniversary, was going on tour, and that they'd be hitting a theater not even 30 minutes from my house, I was ecstatic. I had to go. This could be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I immediately gathered up a group of friends, ordered our tickets, and patiently waited for the day to come. And then, the day came. To be honest, I planned to film the whole thing and make a silly little vlog out of it, and I did end up recording some stuff which you're seeing right now, but I deemed the whole thing unworthy of an entire video by itself. Don't get me wrong, the event was incredible. Honestly, I nearly cried like 5 times during the performance. It made me feel like a kid reliving all these good memories. Even the 2 friends of mine that came with me, who admittedly are far less into Sonic than I am, said they had a really good time. But the show and everything before and after didn't end up being too eventful, and I didn't get as much footage as I would have liked, so I decided to scrap the whole video, and figured I'd never really get the opportunity to talk about my experience at a Sonic Symphony on this channel. Before I knew it, I somehow managed to get myself wrapped up in another symphony trip. However, this time, instead of being 30 minutes from the comfort of my home, I'd be halfway across the fucking country. Okay, in my defense, the boys were very convincing. Like, I get to see the lovely city of Cleveland, Ohio, on 420 no less. So that was that. I locked myself in for a cross-country trip just before final season of my college freshman year, with a bunch of friends I'd never met in person, in a city I'd only been through once. What could possibly go wrong? I woke up at 4 AM for this. Gotta love cheap flights and being a broke college student. I probably got a grand total of 3 hours of sleep that night. Despite my severe lack of sleep, leaving the house went pretty smoothly. I grabbed my bags, said goodbye to Big Gibbs, and started the drive to the airport. Don't worry, I'm not filming and driving, just Mom T was kind enough to drive me to the airport. Love you, Ma. I got dropped off at the airport around 5. My flight was at 6, so I wasn't too concerned about getting my plane on time. Surely TSA won't take too long, what the fuck? The line was so long that it actually went down from the middle of the airport entrance to one end of the building and then back around to the middle. Must have been a lot of broke college students like me flying to see the Sonic Symphony on an early Friday morning. That's the only explanation I could think of. This did get my worries up a bit, but thankfully the line only took about 30 minutes, so I wasn't at risk of missing my flight or anything. Now, nothing can stop me from getting to my flight on time. Legos. Look, okay, I had to stop in the Lego store. They even had Sonic Legos, it was on topic. After my little side quest, I started making my way to the terminal. Nothing could stop me now. Big chicken. I don't even know what that is, I've never eaten there before. I got to my gate, boarded the plane, and the sun began to rise. I took some pictures, it looked really pretty. It was only when I landed at my layover in St. Louis that Zach and I realized something. We had booked the same flight out of St. Louis. That didn't matter as much as my breakfast though. I needed a donut and a coffee. Shockingly, it was pretty good. Last time I had Dunkin' I threw up, so this was a pretty big improvement.
I'm eating a fucking donut.
Yeah. Before long, we were on our flight and off to our main destination, Cleveland, Ohio. When we landed, Nokai wasn't quite ready to pick us up. He had to grab Matt from a bus stop or something, so Zach and I bided our time in the most responsible way we knew how. Gambling. After some time of waiting around, Nokai finally decided to pick us up. The first thing Matt told me when he saw me in person for the first time was that I'm short. Thanks.
Hey, hi. You're short.
We had a bit of time to kill, so we got a delicious lunch at God's favorite chicken restaurant, picked up Expo after gaslighting for a bit, bought Feastable's chocolate, and wandered around a Target for an entire hour before finally heading to the Airbnb, which became available to us at 3. Now, when I tell you this Airbnb was the most comfortable place I've ever stayed, I'd be deemed a liar. Not to be rude to the owners of this place, I'm sure they got a lot on their plate, but this place was a disaster. There was a hole in the wall of my bedroom, the ceiling in the living room was dripping water, the basement stairs felt like they were going to collapse at any second, the bathroom door didn't lock, the backside of the house looked like it was just kind of placed there, a lot of the outlets were just off the walls, and a whole lot more I could list off, but I don't really feel like doing all that. Despite our disappointments with the house, we still made the best of the situation and managed to have a pretty enjoyable stay. Nokai and I even recreated a scene from my Chaos Emerald video. Alright, so that answers it. There's 13 Chaos Emeralds in canon. Oh, hi, Nokai. Ah! We had a whole plan to make a cooking video using the Sonic cookbook that Nokai brought. We even went to Target and spent a collective $100 on ingredients. But when we got home, a strange man was there making our chili dogs for us.
Welcome to JustMaxT.
We did attempt to make one of the drinks, but we made it very poorly. It wasn't great. The chili dogs were actually really good though. The rest of the night was really just us hanging out and having a good time. We played a lot of Smash Bros, built a fire, and got sponsored by Feastables.
This video is brought to you by Feastables. Let's see how this tastes. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. It's okay. Yeah, it's pretty good.
However, I had been running on 3 hours of sleep the whole day and promptly passed out around midnight. I was eepy. I woke up to Expo screaming at me. Apparently while I was sound asleep, the group came to the realization that nobody brought their own soap and shampoo. Looking back, this is kind of a weird problem. We wouldn't need it anyways. Sonic fans don't shower. After getting our supplies and of course cleaning, we watched Nokai's newest video, at the time, until we were ready to go to our first event. The content creator Jack Botnick, known for cosplaying as Eggman, was attending an event at a local comic book shop for Comic Book Day in Cleveland just a few hours before the symphony. We all thought it'd be fun to drop by, say hi, meet people, and most importantly, collect a free Sonic the Hedgehog print they were handing out. We traveled in 2 separate cars to get there, so we ended up being separated in line during pretty much the entire stay. We stayed in line for a good 20 to 30 minutes, but it wasn't progressing very quickly. Both of our groups eventually decided that we didn't want to wait around too much longer and were getting quite hungry. We decided to hop out of line and eat at an Asian restaurant on the same block. I don't remember what the place was called, but the food was really good and the pictures we got were even better. Now, you know me, I'm a rule follower. I'd never cheat the system. However, we really wanted those prints, so... JustMaxT, please use your clout. We got a bunch of them. Thank you. On to the next event of the day, the symphony. Rehearsal? Zach saw a video of someone getting into a symphony rehearsal simply by asking the show's director, Shota Nakama, so we all thought, fuck it, why can't we do that? So we did. And it worked! For some reason, Shota gave a bunch of weird kids backstage access to the Sonic Symphony. I blame JustMaxT clout. We arrived at the theater, had a bit of trouble figuring out where we were supposed to be, thank you security guard who showed us the way, and managed to find ourselves catching the rehearsal just as it began. Honestly, this experience was so cool. Never in a million years did I think I would end up in this position. With these cool people I met over the internet, watching a private showing of a symphony I flew halfway across the country to see. I know I'm glamorizing this a bit, but it's just how it felt to me, okay? Jack Botnick showed up too, which was a bit of an unexpected surprise. I got this goofy ass photo of him staring at the screen. Shota even came up and introduced himself during the showing. He's such a nice guy, and I'm glad the symphony is in his hands. He seems very passionate about the whole project. After the rehearsal, we had a chance to interview Shota about the symphony. We each prepared a few questions for him, so to save time, I'm only going to show the question that I wrote down.
What is one song that you would, if you can answer this, what is one song you would want to play for the symphony that you have not played already?
That has to be With Me.
With Me?
Yeah.
That is a good song.
Yeah, so because
Yeah.
Adrian's gonna sound so great. I could just imagine, I can imagine her like killing it.
Yeah.
And the guitar solo is difficult, but like other than that, like it's just like a great song, and it's different because from the rest of the
Yeah,
set.
I like every
Yeah.
interpretation of the song and all.
Yeah, like it's hard to choose one song because I have a bunch of other songs. Like
Yeah.
Eggman song, like I want to add that too. One Way Dream, like everybody's asking for that too. So yeah, and I started arranging all those songs. Right, like I started writing the scores because I write all the band parts and orchestra parts, everything, and everything is like kind of like stuck around like 30% completion.
Yeah.
And I just have to complete all of them so we can add them to the set.
Yeah, and you guys do a really good job. I love seeing that rehearsal and all that. Yeah.
Thank you.
After the interview, we headed back to the Airbnb to freshen up a bit before the real symphony. We also picked up this weird guy. He wouldn't stop talking about Zavok. It was very strange. I think his name was Jonathan or something. I don't remember. We gave him a vector figure and he eventually shut up. Arriving back at the theater was quite the experience. Never have I once been in a room with so many sweaty Sonic fans besides the last time I was in a room with so many sweaty Sonic fans. The 7 of us found our seats, Expo immediately made friends with the people behind us, and the show began. I know I've already briefly talked about how much I enjoyed my first symphony and what an honor it was to be here with my friends, but still, every time I think back to it, I'm reminded how thankful I am to be in this position. Despite how inactive I've been on YouTube over the last few months, the Sonic community means so much to me, and I'm so glad I've been able to share a small part of this platform with you all. The Symphony is such a great way to bring this fandom together, and I'm so glad I got to experience it with these guys. During the show's intermission, JustMaxT and Matt wanted to go down to the front of the stage and meet people. The whole group followed. Matt got compliments for my shirt I let him borrow, and JustMaxT got recognized by a lot of people. Nokai and I agreed it was a little awkward just kind of standing there while two of our popular friends got the attention, but I was still happy to be there. We briefly got to meet Ultima, which I was not expecting, and got a little fan-made symphony artwork. We then headed back to our seats for the second half of the show. The rock concert portion of the show went pretty well. The music was great as always, and the crowd was especially hyped. However, we did have some difficulties. One security guard made it her mission to make our time there as miserable as possible. She came up to us while we were singing along with one of the songs and told us that we needed to quiet down and remain seated. I suspect it's because we screamed at our Lord and Savior Vector showing up on screen, which is like, fair, but she continued to side-eye us for a majority of the show, which was incredibly uncomfortable. I don't know why she singled us out specifically when everyone else was getting just as excited. It was honestly kind of a mood killer. Eventually, she did end up leaving and we felt more free to get hyped and enjoy the rest of the show. Eventually, the show did end and we all had to leave, but not before JustMaxT insisted on meeting more people. We stood in the main hall for a while and I witnessed the funniest fan interaction, if you can even call it that, I've ever seen. Some dude walked by our group, stared JustMaxT down and said, "Holy shit, JustMaxT," and walked away like nothing happened. Another dude came up wanting to play Sonic the Fighters on his Steam Deck. He won. We soon left the theater, got some pretty okay pizza, left Jonathan at his hotel, and returned to the Airbnb to get a good night's sleep. I woke up. Matt and X-Pool were already gone. They hate us. Since this was around the time the Sonic IHOP promotion was going on, the remaining 5 of us decided it would be a splendid idea to capitalize on the Blue Rats meals and get some pancakes. Never mind, JustMaxT is gone. So there we were, Zach, Nokai, Jonathan, and I, sitting in an IHOP that suspiciously smelled like trash. The food pics were pretty good though. After breakfast, Zach parted ways with the rest of us. He had a pretty early flight. Speaking of flights, my broke college student ass wanted to save as much money as I could, meaning I had to pick the cheapest flights, meaning I had to choose the latest flight I could. Basically, these two bozos were stuck with me for the majority of the day. It wasn't all bad though. This meant that we got to explore the great city of Cleveland, Ohio, where we went to an empty mall and another empty mall. Ooh, a casino! Let's go gambling! Nokai and I aren't 21 yet. We eventually wound up at the Great Lakes Science Center. Jonathan had told us both here and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame next door were both free to enter, since he had already been there during his free time the day before. However, when we got there, we learned that it was actually around $20 for a single adult ticket. Jonathan, you broke into the museums. So, like rule-abiding citizens, we walked into the exhibits without paying a dime. The Science Center was a really fun pastime. We goofed around for quite a while, trying out everything they had to offer there, and even made our own fun with the place after that. We decided we wanted to check out the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame by sneaking into that too, but when we got there, we changed our minds since they had considerably more security. Instead, we hung around the gift shop. They have a pretty good selection of artists that I actually listened to, so it was pretty enjoyable. Eventually, our time in Cleveland came to a close. Nokai and I said farewell to Jonathan, 2 of us drove to the airport, and Nokai and I said our goodbyes. I was fucking starving at this point, so I got a really expensive, extremely undersized burger. I also saw a mouse running around the terminal. Glad to know the Cleveland charm is still here. I boarded my flight, took my seat, and was headed home before I knew it. I arrived back home around 12 in the morning. JustMaxT was waiting at the airport to pick me up. Love you, Ma. When we got home, I said hi to Big Gibbs, put my bags away, and immediately crashed in my bed. So, that was my Sonic Symphony experience. I'd say this trip was 100% worth it. I loved watching the show. As expected, it was performed wonderfully. But even more so, I loved getting the opportunity to meet all these wonderful people. And of course, I have to thank you all for even making this possible for me. I wouldn't be here without any of your support. Sorry this video took me 4 months to write, but I'm very glad I did. It meant a lot to me. It would also mean a lot to me if you'd subscribe, follow me on Twitter, and watch more of my videos. Sorry they're not super consistent uploads. Work, college, gym, social, YouTube life balance is really hard. Yeah.